everybody, I'm JJ Johnson. You're watching Reality Survival. So today what we're going to talk about is top 25 pre-attack indicators. Now these indicators are just clues that you might be able to use if you are about to get into an altercation with somebody, to kind of give you an idea so that you know when they're about ready to strike. Okay? Just because they do one of these things doesn't necessarily mean they're going to fight, but if you see a combination of these things, then there's a pretty good indication that they're getting ready to spring. So, why would you want to know this? Well, obviously you could use this to, number one, if you see these indicators coming when you're talking with somebody or whatever, and it looks like they're getting more and more angry or whatever, you can know when you might need to extricate yourself from a situation and when you may need to leave. If you can't leave for whatever reason, whatever the situation is, if you have to fight, and you can articulate clearly, that this guy is getting ready to, engage in a fight with you, then that may give you the opportunity to strike first. The other thing is in a without rule of law situation, in a deal where we've had a collapsed society or whatever, you might be able to use these indicators to kind of forecast how somebody's going to react, and that may give you enough information for you to make a call on how you should deal with that person, regarding fighting or with self-defense with a weapon or whatever the case may be. It's really all a judgment call, but this is all just meant to be able to give you some information to be able to read people's body language whenever they're getting excited, when they're getting pumped up and angry and stuff like that. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. And the first one is that the eyes don't lie. So if you see somebody, maybe you come into a bar or something like that, and you see somebody and they're just eyeing you, as you cross the room, and you can really tell that some reason they're upset. They don't want you there. Maybe it's a territorial issue or something like that, but that is the first indicator. Okay, so the second indicator is that they will probably move within striking distance. They're going to come inside of your personal space. That's kind of how it always seems to go, right? The guy puffs his chest out and he comes up and he gets right in your face, Well, that is the second indicator. Okay, so once they're in your space, the next thing that you can look for is that, right before they strike, a lot of people, right before they get ready to crank out, what they're going to do is they're going to take a look around. They're going to take a look around and see if there's any police or any authorities, if you've got any buddies, or something that he didn't see or whatever the case may be. They're just looking around and basically to make sure that it's clear for them to go ahead and deck you. All right, and the next one is they may be swaying side to side. So you might see them like this. People kind of do this thing where they're just like right in your face and they're all intense and everything. They're kind of moving side to side, and that's basically a result of an increase in adrenaline. And what they're doing is they're kind of just working themselves up, and then they just boom and come over with a right hook or whatever the case may be. So watch for that swaying side to side. The next thing is your feet. All fights, well, not all of them, but they gotta stand on a foundation, right? So with your feet, what you need to look for is you want to see that they have a staggered stance, and I'll see if I can show you that here real quick. So you're basically just going to be looking for something somewhat like this, where if they're right-handed, they'll have their left foot just slightly forward, something along those lines. Okay, so this one is kind of difficult to show you, but I'll do the best that I can. And this basically where when somebody is approaching you and they're going to just come right into a fight, a lot of times what will happen is they're going to walk kind of like a cowboy, where they're walking with both sides. See if I can give you a little better look here. So they're walking with both sides moving at the same time. That's a pretty common one that'll happen when somebody's approaching, and they're going to basically walk right up to you and then just lay into you. Okay, so number 7 is you may actually see you may see them just as they're standing here, kind of got that fighting posture, they may just slightly bend their knees just a little bit. You might think of this as like a predator who is getting ready to pounce on its prey. You know, they kind of get down low like a cat does right before it strikes, and then go. So just a slight drop in their posture could be an indicator they're getting ready to spring. All right, so number 8 is an increase in respiration. So our normal respirations, you know, I think it's like 10 to 12 breaths per minute or something like that. But you may see that they're starting to really breathe a lot quicker, and that's another result of the increase in adrenaline that's happening inside their body. You know, they're preparing themselves mentally, and as a result of that, the body is starting to push out a chemical cocktail that is, you know, essentially getting them ready to fight. And one of the side effects of that adrenaline is that their heart rate and their respiration is going to increase. The next thing is another result of an increase in adrenaline, and that is shaking hands or knees. So as you're watching there to their side, you may notice that their hands just kind of start to tremble just a little bit. You know, and that's because they got so much adrenaline going in there, and it's kind of trying to, they can't really control that. Okay, so the next one is you want to watch where their hands are. And if you see that if they're sitting here talking to you like a normal person would or whatever, and all of a sudden you see one hand drop back behind their back, or if you see a hand drop into a pocket or something along those lines, then that is a big indicator that they're probably going for a weapon or they're getting ready to attack. Okay, so number 11 is that they may have clenched hands, okay? And they're not going to probably have them up here, but down low, if you see their hands just start to tense up down here, then that is a good indicator that they're getting ready to swing. Another thing you can watch for is their fingers pumping. This is number 12. They start to just kind of take their hands and they're basically pumping their fists like this, kind of getting themselves, you know, all ready to go, getting their fists nice and tight. So number 13 is you may see their hands actually start to come up into somewhat of a semi-fighting stance position. So as they're talking with you, they may be bringing their hands up into this range, you know, like they're getting ready to go. Okay, so watch for that. Number 14 is they may start to rock up on the balls of their feet. Doing this. Again, that's just some of that nervous energy that is a result of that adrenaline cocktail. Number 15 is you may have them pacing back and forth. You know, they may be moving across like this as they're talking to you. Again, it's just more of that nervous energy. They're still right there in your personal space and they're close, but they're just moving back and forth. They can't stand still because they have to do something with that energy. Number 16 is shaking of their head. This is a really, really popular one. And basically what they're doing is inside their head, they have this inner dialogue, right? And as they're getting ready to go, they're thinking like this. They're like, yes, you can kick his ass. You got it. You can do this. You know, and you'll see their head shaking up and down because they've got this inner dialogue going on inside their head. They're trying to convince themselves that this is the right thing to do. Number 17, a lot of people will touch their face or cover their mouth or their nose or kind of do something along this lines or something like that, and that is essentially trying to cover their deception. So they may do this and then whack, you know, come out of nowhere. It's just something. It's like a nervous tick or a nervous thing that people do whenever they're getting ready to hit someone. Number 18, and I'm sure you guys have seen this if you've ever been out to the bar. You'll see people that they'll start to groom their hair. You know, they kind of do like this. They want to look good before they get into it. You know, it's kind of funny, but that's what happens. Number 19 is another classic, and that is this prayer kind of symbol. And a lot of times, you know, they'll kind of you'll see folks that'll kind of get down and they're talking and they're just, you know, they got a combination of these things going, and they're just like, you know, it's almost a subconscious thing that they get this kind of prayer symbol going, and then they, you know, lay into you. Number 20 is the felony yawn, and that is where, and I'm sure you've experienced this yourself when you're in an uncomfortable situation, you don't really know what to say, or you know you're angry, you're pissed, whatever. You'll get this kind of yawn that's kind of out of nowhere. You know, you're just like, And a lot of times, especially in a law enforcement case, man, you know they do that, and they're getting ready to bolt, or they're getting ready to hit you and bolt, or something. Something's going on. So an out of place yawn is another good one to look for. Number 21 is that they alter their blink rate. And again, this is just part of nervousness, part of that adrenaline, but you may start to see them really, get a lot of blinking going on, something along those lines. Or you may actually just see them really start to hold the stare for a long time without blinking. Something that's really uncomfortable and longer than it should be. So number 22 is shrugging their shoulders. A lot of guys will they'll kind of start to do this thing, and they'll just be kind of like they're getting flexed, like they're getting ready to go. They're like pumping up the chest, and they're kind of like doing this thing with their head and neck where they're pulling their shoulders up and that kind of thing. That's another good indicator. Number 23 is they'll change the pace of the conversation. When you started the conversation, they were talking at a certain speed, but then it starts to really pick up that speed. Usually, as things start to escalate, the pace of conversation starts to quicken, and it starts to get really kind of inflamed, kind of fast. They start cutting people off and interrupting you and all that kind of stuff. Number 24 is they may dehumanize and degrade the person that they're about to attack. And the reason they're doing this is they're trying to justify in their own minds that this is not a person. This is somebody who's lower than human. So they start to insult them. They start to call them lower than, dirt, whatever. I mean, they just basically, you're a piece of crap, blah, 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 whatever the case may be. When you see that, and you know that it's probably going to get pretty close to getting, into the fight. Number 25 is they start to speak incoherently and they can't answer questions or don't answer questions, And the reason for this is that chemical cocktails going all through them. They've got a whole bunch of adrenaline going. They start to get this auditory exclusion, and they're focused all on their plan on how to attack. They're not even hearing other stuff that's going on right there. And when that happens, you know that it's getting ready to get close to going down. Okay guys, so that has been the top 25 pre-attack indicators that I'm aware of. I would love for you guys to throw down in the comments below some of the other top indicators, pre-attack indicators. I know there's a whole bunch more out there, so I know you guys can add a lot to the comments, and I would definitely be interested in seeing what you have to add for that. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, I definitely appreciate it. I always appreciate it when you share the videos on whatever social media that you guys use. That really helps out the videos a lot. If you appreciate this content, then that's the best thing that you can do for me. I will occasionally throw in some Amazon links into the description below. That does help as well. And thank you to those of you in the last couple of months who have used the Amazon links, because that has noticeably increased the the payment from the Amazon affiliate, and I do definitely appreciate that. And let's see, I think that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys found these useful. As always, don't forget to live the 6 Ps. Proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. Stay safe, guys.